Okay, good morning to one and all. Today we'll discuss about database connectivity with Python and how to work with database in Python. It is very important that we should understand how to connect database to any programming language for that matter. But Python as such is one of the widely used programming language nowadays. It has a wide support of database connectivity, and it has a special set of functions that are available to connect SQLite, which is serverless database system, which is very light. That is the reason why the name given is SQLite. This is chapter number 17 in the book that is prescribed as the textbook for you, written by Murash. So in this, the objective of this particular chapter is use SQLite Manager to test SQL statements against SQLite database, develop Python program that uses SQLite database to store the data of a programs. Knowledge required is shown here, like you should know what is DBMS, what is RDBMS, what is the difference between DBMS, RDBMS, and how RDBMS helps you to map the real world requirements of database management. You will be exploring all of these commands that are related to database management system in this particular chapter, and we'll see how to implement these things using a Python program, a simple Python program. Now, hope you people have already studied database management system. I'll give a little bit of overview of what you have already studied, and meanwhile we'll also understand how to write programs to implement those commands using Python. This is just an example to show you how actual database looks like, or a table looks like. You have a vertical things which are usually called as fields of a database, which are also sometimes called as attributes. And if you have studied object-oriented programming, you can relate this with the class that is implemented, wherein the class name can go as a table name. In this case, the table name is movie table, right? And the column names would be the attributes of that particular class that you are implemented. So movie ID, category ID, name, year, and minutes are the columns for this particular table, which can go as attributes or the data members in a particular class if you are implementing a class. So you can relate those things to have proper understanding between a class and a table, so that later on you can have some relation between the program that you have written using object-oriented programming concepts and converting that to a database management system related activity in real world. And each entity or each row represents set of values that are assumed for a particular entity in real world. So for example, the first row indicates certain set of values for a particular movie, right? So every database has a primary key, or every database has one attribute which uniquely identifies each and every entity or each and every row of a data in a table, right? Hope all of you know what is primary key. What is primary key? Primary key is the one which identifies, or which uniquely identifies every entity in a particular real world scenario. So in this case, which is considered to be a primary key, movie ID is considered to be a primary key. So this primary key should uniquely identify each and every movie in that movie table. Understood? Any doubts? Okay. So now, when we say it's a primary key, what is the constraint that this particular attribute should have? It should be unique, isn't it? Since it uniquely identifies each and every entity, so this one must be written in such a way that it is not repeating. So every row has a unique number. So you can clearly see that every row in this particular table represents one movie and its attributes, and every movie has been given a ID. So how do you relate this particular thing to your attributes or the values that you acquire? Which particular entity, which particular attribute of yours identifies you as a unique person in this particular class or in this particular college? Is it your name? Yes? No? Why? Because there might be multiple people with the same name. Is it your color? Not really, because many people have similar color. So many attributes you have, but those attributes cannot be unique. So to identify each and every person in a particular class, what do? We either assign a roll number. Roll number is never repeated. Right? At university level, if you want to identify yourself as a separate entity or a uniquely identification of a particular student is to be done, then what do? We specify what? We specify university seat number, right? It's a registration number or a USN that is allocated to each and every person when he gets admission to a particular college. So every entity must be uniquely identified. So this will help you to access this particular row whenever you want to update or modify the record or even insert a record or perform any operation on a particular row of a database. So what all concepts you will be learning? A relational database consists of tables. Table consists of rows and columns, which can also be referred to as records and fields. This is very important. Whenever you are writing answers related to a database management system, you need to be able to differentiate between what is a record, what is a field, what is a column, and what is a row, right? And how relational database is actually working in real world. Okay, a table is typically modeled after a real world entity such as product or customer, but it can also be modeled after an abstract concept such as the data for a game. So it is not necessary always that unless a particular entity is existing, only then you can specify the attributes related to a particular entity. It might also happen in real world that you need to assume that a particular entity may come into existence at runtime, and you will have to identify the attributes for that particular entity. That is what it says. Whenever you want to represent a data for a particular game, unless and until that game starts working, or unless a particular person starts playing a game, that entity will not get existed. So you will have to assume what all attributes are required for storing the status of a particular game at a given point in time. A column represents an attribute of an entity such as movie's name. Okay, this is just an example for you which I have shown in the previous slide. So movie's name is one column which is representing the attribute of a movie. A row consists of set of values for one instance of an entity such as movie. So all the values related to a particular movie are stored as one row. So that can be called as a record. Most tables have a primary key and uniquely identifies each row. This I have already told. The primary key is usually a single column, but it can also consist of two or more columns. In certain cases, it might not be necessary that a particular record is able to, means you are able to identify a particular record using a single attribute. Any guesses? Any examples wherein you want multiple attributes or multiple columns to represent the primary key? Any guesses? Can you just think? So if you want to know these concepts clearly, you will have to relate yourself or relate the real world examples to a database that you will be creating. For example, if suppose the example that I gave just now, that is related to movie or even related to a student, if you can extrapolate that to the next level. For example, if suppose you have got A, B, C, D, 4 divisions in a particular semester, right? All of you have completed your first year engineering. There you have A, B, C, D, E, F, like that divisions, right? Assume that in each division, the students are identified with the roll number 1 to 60. Just an assumption. Roll number between 1 to 60. And in one particular subject, that is for example say professional ethics or some other subject which is common to all the students, if suppose a particular professor wants to conduct a common class, a combined class for multiple divisions, right? Then we may come across a situation wherein there are multiple people with the same roll number, isn't it? Is it possible? Yes, because we have got students belonging to 3 divisions. and in each division roll numbers are assigned as 1 to 60, right? So if suppose I have got A, B, C division students sitting in one class, so I will be having roll number 1 to 60 for division A, roll number 1 to 60 for division B, so roll number 1 to 60 for division C. This is just a scenario for better understanding. In our college, it is not like that. For A division, probably the numbers will range from 100 or 101 to 160. For B division, it is 201 to 260. For C division, it is 301 to 360, so on and so forth. It is specifically done because we can have a unique identification even if such situation arises. But if suppose the numbers are common in all the divisions, like we have identified a common nomenclature like 1 to 60 students will be having roll number 1 to 60 in A division, 1 to 60 in B division, 1 to 60 in C division, and all the three division students are sitting together in a particular class. Then how to identify those students? Then you cannot use roll number 1. If I call roll number 1, then three people will stand up. Am I right? So if at all you want to identify a student uniquely in that case, then your primary key would be a roll number plus a division. So I have A1, right, a roll number 1 in A division. B1 is roll number 1 in B division. C1 is roll number 1 C division. Similarly, A19 is roll number 19 in A division. C19 is roll number 19 in C division, so on and so forth. So you can have multiple attributes, right, contributing for creation of a primary key. It is not necessary that always a single attribute will refer to a primary key. Sometimes you will have to have a combination of multiple attributes, right? So this is about it. Any doubts so far? Okay, let us go further. So what is RDBMS? This one example would help you to understand what is a relationship between two tables. We have two tables here. One is category table, another is movie table, right? So category table contains three types of categories, 1, 2, 3, identified as category 1, category 2, category 3, and the name given to this particular category field is category ID, and name of the category is animation, comedy and history. Got it? So this is one small table which will give you all the information about the number of categories that are possible for a particular movie, right? Then we have got another table which is a movie table, which I have already shown you in the first slide itself, which contains movie ID, category ID, name, year and minutes. You can see there is a relationship between this category ID and this category ID, right? This movie ID is primary key for this particular table, which is this table. Yes, which is this table. This is movie table. This is another table, let us call it as a category table. In category table, category ID is a primary key. So we have got one primary key for this table, another primary key for this table. One interesting thing that you can observe here is the category ID, which is the second column in the movie table, is being referred from category ID that is available in category table. So now such type of attribute which is getting referred from some other table is called as a foreign key, right? So the foreign key is the one which doesn't exist as a primary key in a table that you are referring, but it is a primary key of some other table, right? Why this is made necessary is because, why it is compulsory is because you should not have a category in this movie table which is not belonging to the category table. You cannot have category 4 which is not listed in this particular table. So there is a relationship between the category present here and the category present here. What does that mean? That means you cannot delete any row in this particular table without deleting all the rows related to that particular category in the movie table. If you do that, then you know what happens. How many of you know about pointers? You know pointers in C, right? So if suppose you have got a pointer and that pointer is holding an address of a variable in the function, what is it holding? It is holding the address of the variable in a function. Later on, just assume that that particular variable has been removed. That particular variable has been removed. Best example to give is, if suppose you have got a function, that function is returning an address to a calling function. Okay, the function f that you have written, assume this is your function. Why I am giving this example is you should be able to understand how this actually works in real world. If suppose you have got a main function, alright, then you have got a pointer p. Let us assume this is pointer p, and there is something like then you have got, say, p is equal to some function call. Then you have got a function. What it should return? It should return int star. Then I have got a variable a in this particular function. Then I have got some more set of things that are written in this particular function. Some statements are written in the function. Then later on I return address of a to this particular function. So what is stored in p? Actually, what is stored in p? P will be holding the address of a, and a is the local variable of this particular function. Do you know what is local variable? Yes, local variable is the one, right, whose scope and lifetime is related to a function, okay, particular scope. So when this particular function gets executed, when this particular function is active, you may say, this starts executing a function, then a particular variable is created, then variable is somehow used in the function. Later on you are returning the address of that particular variable, and that is getting copied into p, because p is a pointer which can hold the address of what? A variable or a memory location. So now I have stored the address of a, but when I try to display, or when I try to, say, use p to display content of a, which was the local variable out here, using pointer p, right, what error I should get? Will I get an error or no? Yes, will I get an error or no? I must get an error, right? What error should I get? The error that is displayed here indicates that p is pointing to a location which is not existing. Why it happens is because a variable a has been created at some location, say 5000, and some value has been stored. Let us assume that the value stored is 100, okay, and value 100 is stored, and this function gets executed. Then I am returning the address of a variable. Remember, when I return the address of the variable, what is stored in p? P is a pointer. Let us assume that it is stored at location 6000, right? Name of this location is p, and it's a pointer, so it can hold the value 5000, right? Let me not write it right now. Okay, so variable is a is created at location 5000, value 100 is stored. Then this function gets executed. When return and %a gets executed, actually the value 5000 is returned, and that is copied out here. When this particular function execution gets over, this particular memory block has been removed because it was a local variable. And when this printf function, or then the printf statement is executed, you can see that you are referring to a address that is stored in a pointer using the indirection operator. So you want to use location 5000 to display the content stored at that location, but you can see this 5000 has been removed from the memory, so that memory is not available to you. So what you are resulting into? You are resulting into a dangling pointer. You are ending up with a dangling pointer. Dangling pointer is the one which holds an invalid memory location, or you can say it holds the non-existing memory location. It was existing when this particular function was executed, but it gets removed from the memory when this particular function execution gets over. But this function doesn't know that. So still it is referring to location 5000. Using indirection operator, it is trying to refer to this location, and that location is not available. That is dangling pointer. So same concept has been implemented in DBMS which says that unless and until this particular, all the records related to this particular category ID have been removed from here, this record cannot be removed. So your RDBMS system should not allow you to remove this particular row directly, because it is referred by some other table. There is a link between one table to another table through this category ID. Understood? Okay. So there are some concepts for you. The table in a relational database are related to each other through their key columns. For example, the category and movie table in the figure use the category ID column to create the relationship between two tables. That is what I have explained just now. What else it says? The category ID column in the movie table is called a foreign key because it identifies the related row in a category table. A table may contain one or more foreign keys. So, one table can refer to multiple foreign keys which are available in multiple places or multiple tables. That you should understand. When you define a foreign key, you can't add a row to the table with a foreign key unless there is a matching primary key in a related table. This is what I have explained using an example. The relationship between tables in a database corresponds to the relationship between the entities they represent. The most common type of relationship is one-to-many relationship that is illustrated by the category and movie table. So in this table you can see there is one category in this table which is relating to multiple rows in the movie table. That is the reason why this particular relationship is called as one-to-many. You might be having many-to-many relationship also, right? Many-to-many, many-to-one, one-to-many, there are many relationships. This is the most common relationship wherein one record in one table is referring to multiple records in another table. The table can also have one-to-one relationship or one-to-many, many-to-many relationship with other tables. So the columns of category table are two, category ID and name. So category ID's data type is integer, name's data type is text, right? So these category ID and text should not be null. It should never be null. It should contain a value. By default, the values will be null, but you will have to insert the values for these particular fields always. Then you can see the category ID is considered as a primary key. Name is not considered as a primary key because category ID identifies each and every row in that particular table. Then none of these two fields are foreign keys for any other. So this is similarly for a movie table. So we have movie ID, category ID, name, year and minutes. Then we have the data types related to each and every field. Then we have got not null constraint. Then we have got default values. Then we have got primary key, which particular field identifies that particular record in a table. Then whether do we have foreign key, whether we are we referring to a particular field as a foreign key in some other table? Yes. Which one is that? That is category ID. This category ID will be referring to a primary key of another table, that is category table, right? That is the reason why this is written as Y. Please don't get confused as this is why it is written no. It is written no because this is not referring to any other table. It is its own field. But here category ID is not a primary key, but it is referring to a primary key written into some other table. So it is considered to be a foreign key. So how many keys do we have in this particular table? We have got two fields identified as a keys. First one is movie ID. Movie ID is a primary key. Then category ID is a foreign key. So common SQLite data types are text, integer, real word and blob. Okay, we'll see each one of those in details in a particular. Basically these three are quite mostly used in this particular example. This blob is never used much in the examples that we are discussing, but in real world this one is also an important data type. This blob data type is usually used to store an image kind of a data or any data that is not a text, or even if you want to store some binary information, then you can use blob. So this is the syntax for select statement. You know already, probably you might have studied all these statements in DBMS course, but why I am teaching these things to you once again is basically because if there is any change between the things that you have studied with respect to a database management system that is there for your syllabus there, and the changes in SQLite, if at all, not much changes, you need to identify. Okay. Then why select statement is used? What is the use of select statement? Anybody? So the select statement is basically used for fetching a data. Means if you want to select a particular set of rows from a table, you can write select statement. Okay. So select statement is written like this: select star from table. Table is nothing but database where the values are stored, or the table within a database in case of SQLite where the actual values are stored. So this is SQLite database management system is basically object oriented database system. So at the top hierarchy, what do we have? We have database, then under that database we have tables. So database is the one which may contain multiple tables, right? You should have that understanding. Then select star from table, where clause is used for selecting a particular set of rows depending on a selection criteria. If suppose you want to check for select age, or select star from table, say users where age is greater than 60. If suppose you want to select only those people who have got age greater than 60, then you can write where clause. This is for selecting a criterion based selection of records. Then ordered by column 1, ascending descending, column 2 ascending descending. You understand why it is written in square brackets. I have already explained. Square brackets actually indicates what? It indicates optional. If suppose you don't want to write it, you can just leave it. So everything is in only these first two lines are not there in a square bracket. The rest all things are already written in the square bracket. That means bare minimum requirement for writing a select statement is select star from table. Okay, where table is a table name. These two are not required always. Always they are not required. If suppose you want to say use where clause, you can use it. If you want to order the values that you are displaying in a ascending order or descending order, you can use order clause also. So this is just an example for you. Select star from movie where category ID is equal to 2. So when you run this command, it will display all the rows where the category ID is 2. Understood? And if suppose you want to have say where clause more complicated or a compound kind of where clause, you can write category ID is equal to 2 and say year greater than 1980. Even that is also possible, wherein you will get only one particular record in that case, because only this particular record, right, satisfies both the condition, that is category ID is 2 and year of movie is greater than 1980, so 1983. So this will show. And if suppose you want to have a where clause wherein you want to write select star from movie where the category ID is 2 and minutes is greater than 90. If suppose you want to see the movies which are lengthier, which have got more than 90 minutes of duration, then you can write that clause also. Depending on your requirement, you can just go on writing a where clause, and even you can write order clause, right? So this is for order. What does it say? Select name and minutes from movie. You can see here the difference between this clause and this clause is that this select statement and this select statement is that in the previous select statement we have written select star, which indicates that select all the attributes pertaining to each record. But here we are specifying a multiple specific attributes, multiple names of attributes specifically, right? Select the name, select minutes. I don't want to see remaining attributes. Then from movie, this movie is a table name where minutes is less than 90. That is minutes is less than 90. Order by minutes ascending order. That means once the records are fetched, it will arrange those records in ascending order of minutes, right? So first the record with lesser duration is displayed, and then it goes on displaying remaining things in a order, specified order. So this is for joining. Probably you might have already studied how to join multiple tables. If at all you want to have combined kind of select clause wherein you want to use multiple tables, then it is like selecting the records depending on a set of clause that are written, right? You have got inner and outer joins. You might have already studied those. This is just an example for you. Select column 1 as alias. What is alias? What is an alias? If suppose there is a category ID in movie table to be displayed as movie category, then you can specify it as a name that you want to display. Now this is a name that will be displayed in your output. This is the actual name, and this is the name that will be displayed in the output. So we have the select column 1 as alias from table inner. Then you can specify multiple tables for joining. So this is the one. Select movie dot name, category dot name, right? Movie dot name is from what? From movie table, right? Category dot name is from category table. You can see that we have got one attribute or one field which is there in movie table and one field which is there in category table. So while writing the statement, you should be very much careful that you should be writing the table name first, followed by a member operator or dot operator, then the name of the field, category dot, then the name of the field, right? As category name, you can see category name, right? Category name, this name will be displayed as category name, right? This name will be displayed as name only. This name will be displayed as category name. You can see here the name of the movie is shown as it is. You can write it right here like this: movie dot name as movie name. Then instead of name, movie name will be displayed as category name. Minutes will be displayed as minutes because there is nothing written there, and minutes is available only in movie, so there is no ambiguity. If there is ambiguity, then you will have to specify name of the table. If there is no ambiguity, then you need not specify name of the table, right? Minutes is available from movie only. It will search for first the movie table. If it is not available, then it will search the other table. From movie, join category, on category dot category ID is equal to movie dot category ID. You can say this is join is on category, right? A category attribute or category field on category dot category ID, movie dot category ID, right? So this is category table, this is movie table, this is category tables category ID, this is movie tables category ID, where minutes is less than 90 ordered by minutes in ascending order. So this is the output that you get. So you can use multiple combinations and try out yourself that how to join multiple tables and see how it works. So next command that is mostly used is insert into table. So insert statement is most important. Why it is important is because if you only create a table, then probably you will not be able to see what that table will contain, because unless you store something into the table, only then you can select and you can do various other operations on that particular table. So insert function will help you to insert a data into the table or store the data into the table or add rows to the table that you have already created. So insert into table, column list, values, value list. So this is the general syntax. A statement that uses comma list to add one, so that is insert into movie, name, year, minutes, category ID. Values are, this is the name, this is the year in which this particular movie has been created, and then this is minutes, and then this is, so this is the name, this is release year, and this is minutes, means this is duration and this is category ID. So the statement that doesn't use column list to add one row, that is insert into movie values 14 to like this. If suppose you want to specify the values like this, then you should be knowing how the movie table looks like, means you should be able to remember what are the different fields of the movie table and how they are actually stored in the table. So if you know that, then this particular list is not required. So this column list is not required. When you write column list, then you can directly map this column name with the value, column name with the value, column name with the value, column name. Here the column name list is not specified, means we know that how that particular table is actually generated or how it is written. We know the description of the table and we know what each and every column contains. If you are able to remember that, then you can directly write values. This will add into a particular table directly. So this is update. What is update? How update is different from insert? Insert and update are two different operations, remember. Insert is to insert a new record into a table. Always whenever you want to add a record to a table, then it is insert. Update is if suppose you want to change a particular existing record to a new set of values, then you should be able to do it through update command. So update table name set expression 1, expression 2, where selection criteria. So you can specify which all values you want to change depending on what particular selection criteria you want to change. So example is like this: update movie table, set minutes is equal to 84, right? It will be overwriting the previous value assigned to that particular row where movie ID is 4. If suppose movie ID 4 contains say 100 as minutes, now that will be changed to 84. Okay. So this is delete statement is to remove a row from a table. Okay. Syntax for deleting a statement is delete from table name where selection criteria, specify the selection criteria. See, remember that whenever you want to delete a row, you cannot delete a row unless you have a selection criteria. That is the reason why it is not, where clause is not written in square brackets. So where clause is required compulsorily, that you should understand. Then there is an example, delete from movie, right, where movie ID is equal to 14. So I want to delete a record where movie ID is 14. So remember, this movie ID is a primary key in movie table. So only one unique record will be removed from the table. If suppose you want to remove multiple records from a table, even that is also possible. It is not necessary that always the where clause must contain what? A primary key. If suppose you want to delete all the records where the age of a particular person is less than 18, right, then you can write such statement wherein you are writing a where clause, delete from person table where age is less than 18. So all the records related to that particular clause will get deleted. A statement that deletes multiple rows from a table is like this. If suppose you want to delete all the rows where the year of that particular movie release is 1979, if you want to do that, and if there are multiple movies with release year as 1979, then all the records will be deleted at once and you will get a table wherein those records are not available. So depending on your requirement, you can delete it. This is SQLite Manager. This comes as an add-on to Mozilla Firefox. So you can configure your Mozilla Firefox such that this add-on will be added to that. Okay. So this is how you can see it. But I personally prefer you to use your Python programming language to work with the database and make yourself conversant with the programming aspects of database, that will help you to write small code, and the small projects also you can implement using that. So how to do that is available in this. So you will have to go to tools, then SQLite manager, start SQLite manager, then you will have to do all these set of operations to make that particular tool available with your browser. Okay. If it is not there, then you will have to use add-on option that is available in tools, or configuration you will have to use. You will have to download the add-on and then add it to Mozilla Firefox and then use it. So this is a programming aspects related to SQLite. So first statement will help you to import the SQLite package or a module, we say in Python. This is usually called as package in Java. We use module. So now to import SQLite module, you will have to use import SQLite 3. So make sure that SQLite 3 is available on your system. If it is not available, then you will have to download it from our internet. Google it, you will get SQLite.exe downloadable from the official website of SQLite. Then install it. Okay. Once you install it, then you can do that. Always remember that this SQLite must be installed on C:, so that it will be easier for you to further configuration. The syntax for connecting to the database is like this. Name of the connection, CONN is name of the connection, equal to SQLite3.connect, then path of the database file. This path of the database file is a very important thing that you should understand. If suppose the database file is available in the present working directory, then the path will just contain the name of that particular database file. If it is not available, then you will have to specify the complete path. Okay, this is very important. So if it is available in the present working directory, you need not specify the complete path as it is done here. How to connect to the database in working directory? This is also called as a working directory. There you can just write name of the connection is equal to SQLite3.connect, then name of the database file. But if suppose it is not available, then you will have to use certain set of other modules to make it happen. So first one is import sys, import OS. These are the two modules that are required for identifying which type of operating system you are using. Why all these things are required in your programs that I will be showing later on. These things are not required because most of you are using either Windows or Linux, right? But if suppose it is Win32 machine, then this is required. So we are checking sys.platform is equal to Win32. If it is Windows platform, then db file is equal to, I am writing the whole thing where we are clearly specifying the complete path of movies.sqlite database file. You can see. If it is not a Windows system, if it is Mac OS X or Linux, then we'll have to write home is equal to os.environment variable. This is environment variable home from where you get it. Then db file is equal to home plus documents Morash Python underscore db movies.sql. This home will get you the home directory path. You will have to append this particular path to the home directory path. This home will get you the present working directory's complete path, and that path will be concatenated with this path, and then what you get is the actual database file's complete path, and then that particular path you can use to connect. So connect is equal to SQLite3.connect db underscore file. This statement and this statement are actually same. The only difference is here you are directly specifying the name of the file, db file, but here you are specifying what? The name of the file that you have created. Either it is created using a complete path or it is created using a actual path plus the home directory path, and that is being used for connection. This you should understand, and this is most important. If you are not able to connect to the database file itself, then the further operations cannot be done. Then if you want to close the connection object, then you will have to use connection.close. Here this is a better way of writing it. This is the coding standard that is to be followed. You hope you know what is coding standards, right? Best practices that are to be followed while writing a code. first check whether the connection object is existing. If you have created a connection, then only close the connection. If you have not created a connection, then need not close the connection. That means if the connection was not created by the connect statement that you have written here, then closing is not required. Unnecessarily don't close. And if you do that, then probably you will get an error. You will get an error. Then you will have to use try catch and all that exception handling techniques, isn't it? So check whether the connection is created. If the connection is created, close the connection. Then the next thing that comes is the cursor object. This why cursor object is created. So connect object is just to connect your database, right? Your database file with your programming environment. Okay, this connection object is kind of a handle which is used for accessing a database file. Whereas this cursor object will help you to execute the commands on a table. Right? If suppose you want to execute a SQL statement on a particular table, then you will have to have a cursor. So cursor will help you to execute a command. So we have one execute method available in cursor object which will help you to execute SQL command. So this is how it looks like. Execute method of a cursor object, execute SQL params tuple. So you will have to specify the SQL command here. So how to get a cursor from a connection object? This is how we should get it. So remember, first set of statements to be executed in a sequence. First you will have to obtain a connection, then you will have to get the cursor on that. Okay. So C is equal to connection dot cursor, and this cursor will later on help you to execute the command. How to execute a select statement? One example is given to you. Okay. So here the parameters are not there. So this is just a plain select statement. So what do we do? Query is equal to select star from movie. We here a special type of quotations are used. The triple quotations are used just to differentiate between normal quotation and triple quotation. Need not worry. Okay. Then C dot execute query. So query is this one. This query is being passed as a parameter to execute method or execute execute method of what? Connection, cursor. Okay. So C dot execute query. This will execute the query that is written here. Similarly, query is equal to select star from movie where the minutes is less than. So here you can see the question mark is represented to have a placeholder. This is kind of a placeholder which will assume a value that is passed while executing a command. You can see C dot execute query, comma query. Till this it is same, isn't it? C dot execute query, C dot execute query. Till this, both these statements are same. Later on, the second one is a parameter. This is a parameter. So second parameter is specified with a comma separated list. Then we have got a tuple. Hope you know what is tuple. You remember what is tuple. If you don't remember, kindly go and look back. What is tuple? What is difference between tuple and a list? How tuple differs? What is the use of tuple? All that. You have already studied that, right? So 90 is the value that I want to specify at this place. In place of question mark, 90 will be replaced. Whenever you want to specify a tuple with a single value, it must be written with terminating comma. If there is a single value in a tuple, we should have a terminating comma. This is very important. Okay. This is a rule that is being followed in Python. One exercise you can just do is why is that required? You can just identify. Okay. So once the cursor is created, you should be able to close the cursor, or you must close the cursor, because whenever you want to execute something, you are acquiring the resources of the system. So after executing a particular command, you should relinquish the control of those resources back to the operating system so that some other person can use it if required. You should never hold the resources. If you hold the resources, then your program may misbehave later on. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to close it. Most of the times the programmers forget to close the cursor, right? So to help programmers in a better way to close the cursor, this is a special kind of a command which will help you to close the cursor automatically. This you can relate to the files in C, where you are closing the file. Right? After all the operations are performed with the file, you close the file. Similarly, after using a cursor for executing set of statements, you can close the particular cursor. So syntax for automatically closing the cursor object is with closing cursor as name, with closing resource as name statements. This is an example. With closing connect cursor as